Well, hi there. Welcome back to Rally Nord Overland project. Now, as you can see now that I've started with my project on changing the fork spring. I'm going for the Öhlins fork spring upgrade, and well, it's not an easy task when you don't got a workbench and all that stuff, but hopefully I'm going to make it. And as I don't have any work manual from the original Honda dealer, and well, just happy-go-lucky, I guess. So stay with me and we will see how it works out. As you can see, I already removed the left leg and starting with the easy side, which is the side without the spring. I'm just going to change the fork cap. As you can see here, Öhlins provides their own fork caps. It also has a screw there, which you can actually change out, and you can have a air vent. It's yeah, a little knob that you can just push to let out air that is inside. Often there are building up a little bit of pressure inside the forks. That's absolutely normal, but well, just an upgrade, of course. Now, what I'm working with now is to find out this one. So I'm going to take it off. We are going to use some of the rubber in the original part here, place it on this one. But first I got to screw the cap off from this yeah, here. So let's see how it works out. And as you can see, Rally Nord stickers finally. Hang on. So as you see here now, I'm going to try to separate the cap. There's a locking nut right here, and just going to loosen it. Yeah, I have already loosened it, so that came off quick. And just, this is quite loose, so this is, the nut is only preventing it from turning by itself, and it's not going to be a problem getting this off. Now I'm doing this quite easy because or carefully, because I don't want to drop it into that spilled oil. But you see, to compare those two, maybe this is bad lighting. I'm going to change it before I go on. Just a second. As you can see, there is a rubber piece inside here, and which is held in place by this washer. And to get it off, you can see on the Öhlins cap there is a slot right here. It goes around all the way. And if you take a close look to this one, there is a circlip holding the washer in place. So to get this off, I need some suitable tool. Let's see, and hopefully this will do, but I cannot say it's going to be easy because it always tries to slip away, of course. But oh yeah, there are sharps. There are sharp tools. Why do I keep sticking it into my finger? That's not smart. So try to keep your fingers away from the sharp end. I do recommend that. This was very sharp, actually. Bleeding. Hope you're not too faint-hearted about that. Oh. I'm just going easy because I don't want to break this circlip. You know, if you first break the circlip, then I hope for you that you have one in spare, because, you know, waiting to order one of these just because you was going too fast, it's just not cool. So try to be gentle and don't break stuff. So this rubber part is not too easy to get hold of, but just got to try to get in there. You can see I have different tools, so they actually come in handy. It's coming off now. So we got it off. It's no specific side, I think it's just some, I don't know what they call it, rubber grommet or something, maybe. Okay, placing it onto the Öhlins cap. It's actually just sliced right down there, as you can see, quite loose, but that's how it is. Now replacing the washer that we got, and then the circlip. Just like that, and it's lying quite well into that slot right there, and the washer is secured. So that's this side. Now this is the only thing that you have to do, really, and just screw it back on. I know that someone uses some mild thread lock on the cap, but I don't want to. I don't want to use any thread lock on this, because if I'm going to loosen it again, it's going to be very hard to get off. So I'm actually just going to do it like Honda describes, and just tighten this lock nut, and that's all. I'm not going to use any thread lock on this one. Actually, it's and this is of course another dimension. So it's there is a 17 mil there and 14, so it works out just fine. Not too tight, just a little bit, because this ain't going to move anyway. It's just to prevent something going wrong. That's it. And now I'm just going to fill this up with the oil. Now, either if you go with the Öhlins damper kit or any other damper kit, the Öhlins is the only one that actually provides caps. And so therefore, if you go with other manufacturers, it's only the right fork that has the spring that you are going to change. But either way, you also have to change damper oil for your left fork. So even if you don't have to change the cap as I did here, you will have to drain oil from both legs and provide new oil, because you do want to have the same oil and oil type in both of your legs to make the complete fork to work properly. And now I'm just going to show you right here, because there's a difference, as you can see, for the L version recommended oil volume. For the L version and also for the Rally version, there are two different amounts of oil going in their legs, and that is because the L version has actually shorter legs than the Rally. The Rally is higher, so I'm going with this Putoline Formula GP. It's racing oil, so I don't think I'm going to go wrong with this one. This is very good quality too. Yep, sure. As you can see now, I'm just filling up this damping side, the side without the springs, with the 670 milliliters of fork oil. Now this has to be said, this is for the Rally version, so the right amount of oil is not alike on the L version. So you have to follow your own instructions for the L version. Okay, so don't blame me if you blow something up, because yeah, that's how it is. Yeah, well, and I need to say this, when you are removing your fork legs, and before you start draining oil and stuff like that, you should clean off your inner fork legs, so that all this, you can see this is quite dirty, and then you prevent your fork seals to take all that dirty work for you. So now you see I've changed out the cap, and I gotta say, yeah, I made it way quicker this time on the second run, because now I knew how it worked, and it was quite easy. No fingers hurt. And now I'm going to release the spring. It's fastened here with a circlip inside. So now I'm going to need some really good light to see what I'm doing. While to release the pressure, I just have to push the rod down. And so I have to try to balance this with one hand as same time pushing it, and see if I can release the circlip with my other hand. But first I'm going to find some good light so I can see what I'm doing. Because I don't. Well, actually, I think I found a way right now. Yep. Oops. So there we have it. I actually placed my chest on the end cap and just laying my weight as I use my left hand to hold it steady, and then this one to take out the circlip. So now it's loose, and there should be no problem. Whoops, working with this now. Of course, as everything that you take apart, pay attention to the yeah, sections and how they are put. Now, I guess, as you can see here, this is original, so there is a small spring on top, and I don't know how this actually works out. This is the rally version, so it's going to be like this, but on the L version in the Öhlins kit, it comes with this ring, or busher or whatever, I don't know. And I don't know if this is going to replace something inside the L leg, or if it's an addition to something. I don't know. And I can't say that it clearly says that in the instructions manual. So, well, here we have it. It's also marked, and in the instructions is clearly said that you are not going to use this for the L version. So I'm not going to use it, of course. But here's the stuff. As you can see, just putting this aside. Sorry about the noise. And here is the original spring. It's going to drip a little bit of oil, so just be aware of that. Well, so now I'm just going to show you the case of the Öhlins damper kit. This is one of the special things about Öhlins, is of course the end caps here that follows, which has the holes for venting. But you know, when you buy this kit, there's actually two different springs, and I guess this has been mistaken for being one spring for each leg, but it's absolutely not. There are two different springs. The one is harder than the other one. It's the light spring. This one is meant for drivers up to 80 kilos, and the other spring is from 80 kilos up. And I've been doing a lot of thinking about this, because it's, you know, how to decide this. I'm 75 kilos, and I guess there's plenty of you guys out there being 80 kilos, so which are you going to choose? Now, I did a little bit of thinking, and I thought that I would go for the harder spring, as I was going to drive it a bit rough, and I also added 3 more liters to my IMS tank, which adds weight, and so on and so on. But you know, my main riding is not off-road, so I guess the best thing for me to do is to choose the light spring as for commuting and stuff like that, and also thinking that if I'm going to load the bike up for maybe traveling for weeks or whatever, I can always just swap the springs. I can just swap them if I feel like that's the appropriate thing to do. So let's just unpack this one. You can see actually it's quite well packed as well. It's seamed, so I'm just going to get my knife so I can cut it open just by, you know, taking care and open it carefully. I can use this plastic bag for my OEM spring, just to tuck it in there and leave it inside the box with the other spring. That's a nice way to keep track of and having a sort of your stuff. So, oops, don't want that to happen. Here you have it. Doesn't look like much of a difference really, but as I've said before, these springs are progressive, so as more that they compress, the harder they get. So it starts off very soft and slow, and it's getting harder and harder and harder until it bottoms out. This one doesn't. It just goes in the same pace until it bottoms out. So that's a big difference between these springs, and I find the progressive springs to be very good for many things. That feeling you get is one thing. The other thing I can say about progressive spring for just commuting point of view is that when you brake, your forks will collapse of the weight, of course, but as it gets harder it stops, and that's also gives you a more, your light beam will not just hit right in front of you, it will actually stay a little bit higher, and you will have a more clear view of in dark nights and when it's dark outside. Yeah, so as you can see, they are just same length, so now it's just to place it in there and just clip it all together. Make sure that everything is clean. You don't want any kind of stuff inside your fork legs, because there are pretty delicate things inside there. Well, so I'm ready to do this now. I'm just, it's not any, let's see now. Yeah, it's not any specific end to this one. Some springs has a more curly downside to them when they are progressive, and there are ways to install them. So, but for this one there is none. So I'm just going to drop it down to the fork leg. That's the inner sleeve. So just placing it down there. So now I just have to place this back, this rod, and all of this original stuff in top are going to stay right as they were in the first place. So clip. Now I'm going to add my weight from my chest just to get this down here. I can feel that it's quite more harder actually. Oh yeah, that was easy. That was almost too easy, but I'm glad because I could feel that this spring is a lot more harder than the original, and it actually, I felt that in the chest. I'm just added 600 milliliters of oil, fork oil, to this leg, and now I'm taking some oil, just rubbing the O-ring as I said. And now I'm just going to pull this sleeve up, and I just turn slightly, start turning. I don't have the pipe for this size. I think it's size 34, but I'm going to use this one as easy as I can. As I told you, I don't want to hurt the anodizing on these fork caps. They are quite cool, and it just would have hurt me if I got a scratch in them. So as you can see, I just hold the fork cap slightly in my hand with the tool, and I'm just turning the sleeve around and around until it bottoms. Turns quite easy, and you're not supposed to tighten this too much either. So that's it. One thing that I didn't get to point out, I'm just going to try to adjust the angle a bit here for you. Whoa. Well now, one thing that I forgot to point out with the other fork leg is that if you don't retract the sleeve all the way up before you fasten your cap, then you will end up with a vacuum kind of thing inside. So if you're replacing and using the original caps, you should pay very much attention to that. Fortunately, on the Öhlins caps there are holes for venting, so when you unscrew them, the fork leg will fill up and compensate for the vacuum inside, and the fork leg down here, it will actually drop down. So, but not on this spring side because it's already sprung down. Well, now I've tightened up this stuff, and I thought that I just wanted to add you a small tip. When you are in any case removing this caliper with these two bolts, when you are reinstalling,
always, and I couldn't make this clear enough, always get rid of some of that old thread lock and use some new thread lock when mounting this, because you know it could be fatal if these bolts loosen. Yeah, we could only imagine how that would go. I've even seen pro rally drivers forgetting to use thread locks on these two bolts, and well, it kind of ruins their race.
So that was it for today. Try to show you all the aspects of changing the spring for spring. Hopefully you find this helpful, and I wish you best of luck doing the same. Now it's only one thing to do: add some stickers, because you know stickers also gives a lot of performance to the bike. And for those of you who have been watching closely, there was one hint of what's coming up next time. It's going to be a huge difference to this bike, as well as all the other things that I've done. I think this bike is becoming more and more cool, and you know, all the stuff that I expected to be. So please just subscribe, push that thumbs up, and I'll catch you in the next one.